news after she arrives tonight?" James answered with a stiff nod. Curious now, Gavin ventured. "You told me a bit of Miss Melbourne, but nothing of her family. Do we know them?" "Not really," James shrugged, seemingly fascinated by the empty lane. "They are from Suffolk and move in country circles. Her father rarely stays in England. He prefers to travel." He paused. "Her mother moved abroad some years ago." Moved abroad? Away from her husband and children? Had they separated? Before he could inquire further, the rumble of hoofbeats and the jangle of horses' bridles sounded round the bend, interrupting. A simple black coach rolled down the rough-hewn lane, spewing a thin layer of dust in its wake. This should be Miss Melbourne and her brother now. James folded his hands before him, waiting with straight shoulders and a pursed mouth as the carriage came towards Norfield Park, Gavin's country manor house. "Indeed." Gavin smiled, still amused by James's nervous gestures. "You will like Miss Melbourne's brother. Darius is quite the sportsman." "Then he will keep this countryside from being deadly dull, I'm sure." As the simple black conveyance lumbered and lurched to a stop at the manor house's steps, James cast a sober glance to Gavin. "Thank you for coming with me to greet Miss Melbourne. I truly want you to like her." James was nearly as insistent as a costermonger, Gavin thought with a smile. "I am sure I will come to think as highly of her as you." "That is my dearest wish." As James stepped toward the coach, the footman stepped down and opened the door. Dust floated in the gentle wind, almost like a mist around the conveyance. As usual during the spring season, James sneezed. The first person to depart the coach was a man. As the stranger ducked to exit, Gavin caught a glimpse of black hair. Upon his tall, elegant frame, the man wore a stylish riding costume with a fitted blue coat and well-polished boots. Gavin saw a flash of very tanned cheeks and an aquiline nose before the man turned to the coach and held out his hand. A woman's slender fingers appeared from the vehicle next, covered in short gloves of cream-coloured silk netting. A single gold bracelet on her right arm, just above her glove, winked in the sunlight. A puffed poplin sleeve of muted blue flowers followed. Then her head emerged. A pale oval bonnet atop thick black curls, as shiny as wet ink. Narrow shoulders appeared in a delicate tiered cape that fell to her elbows. She stepped down to the dirt lane, feet snugly wrapped in soft kid boots. Though she was surprisingly tall, her movements hinted at grace. The woman, Miss Melbourne, he presumed, looked up. A hint of a smile graced her mouth as her gaze tangled with his. In an instant, her violet blue eyes stunned him like a kick in the gut. Miss Melbourne was not exactly a beauty. He had been right about that. But she was the most exotic creature Gavin had ever set eyes on. And she was James's betrothed. Gavin froze, staring at the firm angle of her jaw and her wide, wanton mouth. He could not find a word to say. A man thought of one thing when he looked at such a woman, and it was not the latest fashion. Gavin swallowed as lust sliced a sudden gash deep through his belly, straight down to his cock. He let out a shaky breath. Why had reserved James, a clergyman no less, chosen a woman as sensual as Miss Melbourne for his bride? She was not the kind of woman to blend in with the small country parish, particularly not as the parson's wife. She was not the kind of woman to blend in anywhere. Had his cousin finally felt the call of the lustful Daggett blood? Always, James had been far more interested in matters spiritual than sexual, at least until Miss Melbourne. But since she aroused more than his own curiosity, Gavin assumed she inspired the carnal in his cousin as well. Too stunned to move, he watched Miss Melbourne turn toward James, her shimmering black curls caressing her slender neck. Her eyes, framed by an extravagant border of coal-tinged lashes, shone a pure, vivid blue. Such a hint of the demure was an intoxicating contrast to the opulence of her face. Topped by the wings of her raven brows, her eyes were luminous, expressive, mysterious. All propriety, James bowed over Miss Melbourne's hand as he greeted her with a low murmur of words. Her